we started the Pilot House email and customer retention team to crush targets. And in our 4th year, we are the best customer retention team in the Roman character set. We use campaigns to fire up the addresses you spent so much money to acquire and build effective automations that keep your engagement window fat and drive value that you can amortize over years. The cheapest customer is the customer you already have, and the most effective ad funnels go to high-intent audience. Come to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, and ask to speak with me directly. I'll give you a free audit. Back to the show.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
The only browse abandoned email you'll ever need. It is popular, and I recommend breaking your browse abandon based on 3 different kind of funnels. People are interested in products that are curated for them, even if it's curated by a machine. Oh, recommendations for me. Oh, these are for me. These are for me. Recently added. Why are recently added emails good? Because people like newness. People react very well to newness. The funnel flusher. What is this? It's the world's best email retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. If you want to make the sweet nectar of low-cost revenue a large part of your digital ecosystem, follow us on your favorite podcast app today. This time, we will discuss the only browse abandoned email you'll ever need. Recently, I've been producing a lot of very high-level, sophisticated, strategic content, which is important because email fits into a very large ecosystem. So, if you have not yet watched episode 40, where I brought a lot of important ideas together that we've been discussing, please watch episode 40. Now, that said, there's still lots of basic stuff about an email program. There's still lots of just important table stakes that people still get wrong. So I can't abandon that. So for any fans who are still crossing little bridges as they cross big bridges, here's an episode where we go through some foundational stuff for email marketing. And also, anybody who's kind of new to the pod or just listening in recent episodes, you can go back to the first, for sure the first half dozen episodes were very foundational. Just how email works, how opens work, stuff like that. All that being said, let's talk through the only browse abandon you'll ever need. Let's start from trigger. We'll go all the way to the top. I'll start from trigger. Of course, you trigger on viewed product. That makes it a browse abandon email. But to just add some nuance, you can also make a category abandon email. There is a data point category or catalog viewed. I've just noticed not all Klaviyo accounts have it. So it's present sometimes, it's not present other times. I've never really dug into why. I just know, sometimes you can do this and sometimes not. The viewed product is better because you can show someone the product that they viewed. But if somebody got to a category and then didn't click on a product, this would allow them to get something specific to that category, whereas the site abandon would generally not be specific to a category. Although if you do go back and watch our episode on the only site abandoned email you'll ever need, we do talk about ways that you can incorporate category or psychographic segmentation based on tracking what pages someone has visited in your blog or other rich content space. Point being, look, it's going to trigger on viewed product, but consider also taking what you learn here and building yourself a category abandon based on people visiting top categories. It is popular, and I recommend breaking your browse abandon and your category abandon if you make it based on 3 different kind of funnels. Your number 1 category, your number 2 category, and default. Don't start by breaking down 5 or 6 or 7 different categories because you don't yet know how much of an uplift you're going to get from your effort. And effort is precious. Time is precious. So if you're going to segment based on category, by what category someone has visited, or psychographic, like we discussed on the only sighted band you'll ever need some episodes ago. If you're going to do that, just do it by 2 different ones and a default. Now, you don't have to break it down by category. One approach to this is one clean funnel. You will never find yourself annoyed at the technical debt and extra work you have to do by designing a single browse abandon flow, even if you have multiple categories. Because we're going to talk about dynamic content. You're going to have dynamic content load into the email, so they're going to see messages that make sense for them based on where they were on the site. Quick point, when you build your product feeds, recommendation is to use a blend of visit and purchase to make sure that visits that don't result in a purchase, like this browse abandon that clicked on a product, feed good recommendations into the engine. But also purchases carry way more weight than visits. So you do a blend, which means you get the view if someone's only viewed, but you are weighting by purchase. If somebody actually purchases something, product feed, blend, product feed, blend. Okay, understood. So if you just do one clean funnel and you don't break it up by what category someone's purchased or what, content pages people have most recently viewed, you're still going to get them the merchandising that is relevant for them. What you won't get is talking about, that specific category, which can be like overcoming objections for that category in the marketing. What are the most common objections from buyers? Okay, let's overcome those. Well, you kind of want to do that on a category specific basis, usually, unless you're like a single SKU business. You can also talk about manufacturing and materials. I mean, if you've got a whole lot of categories, getting really into manufacturing materials is difficult with one clean funnel. So one clean funnel is like maybe good for businesses that have so many categories you wouldn't possibly even think about breaking it down because it's just too much. Or you just, you're limited in time and you're limited in scope and you want to just get the best results you possibly can. You're going to get like the uplift from breaking things down by a few categories will be slight, right? I mean, you will get an uplift generally, but it won't be fireworks because so much of it is just getting in the inbox with the product they clicked on and some good recommendations, and the dynamic content will cover so much, accomplish so much of the lift. Okay, so we're triggering off a viewed product, maybe category if we're also doing a category abandon. We are segmenting by the category someone clicked on. Has clicked on this category? Yes, no. Has clicked on this category? Yes, no. Right? So we can kind of do that category segmentation. Recommend you do category 1, category 2, and default at first. And then we reach our wait step. How long do we wait? Actually, you probably put the wait step before the logic I just described, but whatever. Here's the recommendation. Although you should watch your results, always watch your results, but you should watch your results and make sure that your base reacts well to this amount of inboxing. First one goes 20 minutes. First email goes after 20 minutes. Second email goes after 8 hours. Why 20 minutes and 8 hours? Because that way you get them when they're in the same session sitting down or on the train or whatever, and you get them like later that day, or if it was at night, you get them when they wake up. So you just really, really hugging that intent by getting these 2 to go on the same day. I mean, if you're only doing 2 browse abandon emails, maybe not, right? But if you're going to do more than 2, then do 2 really tight up front and then follow up with another one a day or 2 later. You have to watch your smart sending. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the different scenarios where this can screw things up, but obviously, if your smart sending is more than 8 hours and you send your second email in 8 hours, it's not going to go. So smart sending is it's a universal setting in Klaviyo settings. By the way, obviously we're talking about Klaviyo here. We're a Klaviyo first agency, and it's a product with mass market appeal, but all of this philosophy works with other systems. In fact, I built all this stuff in other systems before I used Klaviyo. So you can do all this stuff in any system. I just talk through Klaviyo in shorthand. Okay, so we've triggered it. We've routed to the appropriate content category, if appropriate, based on product category. We have given people a chance to convert, and then they open the email, right? Actually, we should start with subject line. Of course, the classic is caught you looking, right? Or you've got great taste. I think it's fine to split test against that. Maybe it gets used all the time because it's a winner. I'm pretty deep in email, so I see it and my eyes roll, but I'm deep in email. So I'll acknowledge that it's worth testing you've got good taste, but we can probably do better. And so in here, we're going to discuss the dynamic content, the dynamic value that's embedded in the email. I would consider calling out that value. So this is foundational when it comes to recommendations, trending, new to site, bestsellers, emails, perfect for you, where you pair recommendations. Foundational to that is the reason those are popularized in multiple email systems is because they work. All the research has been done. The science is settled, right? People are interested in products that are curated for them, even if it's curated by a machine. They go, oh, recommendations for me. Oh, these are for me. These are for me. What's every landing page do? We've said it so many times. What's a landing page? Where am I? What do you want me to do? What's in it for me? So calling out for them what's in it for you in a subject line, that's what every subject line is. If every subject line is what's in it for me, you're going to do great, right? So we haven't gotten to the section with the different dynamic content, but let's just stick with recommendations, because recommendations is classic in a browse-abandoned email because they clicked on a product, so you can make a recommendation for them. You could say, the product you missed, plus recommended for you. I know that's kind of wordy, but don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of calling out recommended for you in the subject line, because someone's going to go, oh, recommendations. Oh, these are going to be good. This isn't going to be random stuff. What are you doing when you call out the fact that there is curated content for them in that message? You're saying this isn't going to be a rando campaign. You're going to see stuff in here that you like. And you know what? It's going to get opens. And if you've followed the pod, you will know that when you optimize your subject line, the largest uplift is actually on page conversion. It's actually revenue per session. Revenue per session is what goes up the most when you optimize your subject line. It seems crazy because it's subject line, you got to open it, then click through the email, then purchase on the site, you got to even add cart. How is it that revenue per session is what goes up the most? Well, there's a few things going on there. One, the benefit has time to compound down the funnel. Two, you're creating something in someone's mind. And then if you write your copy properly, you're playing on that the whole way and building on this concept. And what's the concept we're building? Why this thing's right for you. They're called value propositions for a reason. So we are building on that from the subject line to the asset, and then often to a banner on top of the category page. If you're dropping into a category page, you put a banner up there for your seasonal launch or whatever it is that you're doing. And through building on that, the final endpoint, the revenue per session, is what went up the most, right? It went up more than just the open rate. So calling out the what's in it for me is huge for the subject line. And caught you looking, I mean, how about something more like, and I recognize and I acknowledge every time I write these subject lines on the fly, they're not great, because you really got to sit down and do it, but it's like, yeah, keep shopping, plus recommended for you. You can even do a plus sign. Or you can break it down and, the product name that you left behind, and then in the pre-header text, you could say, plus recommended for you, right? Anyway, point being, subject line, let's at least test something better than caught you looking. Let's at least test. Let's at least try to beat that. And if you want to think about where to start beating that, start beating it by spelling out what's in it for them, because that's what they care about. They care about what's in it for them. And further, dynamic value, dynamic content. The things that we dynamically load are tested and proven to appeal to consumer psychology, right? Recently added. Why are recently added emails good? Because people like newness. people react very well to newness. So, there's dynamic content that loads newness, right? There's no like super old products. There's no, hey, it's a super old products email. Oh, products that have been on the site for years. Oh, I got to open this one. The dynamic value is tested and proven to work. So call out the dynamic value in the email, in the subject line in some way or another. Okay, so subject line done. Then what do we see in the email? First of all, my goodness. Okay? Like more than half of the people who open the email, well more than half, do not scroll down. Right? So much of the action is in the hero, or basically above the fold. So much of the action. Now we talk about making email shoppable landing pages. Who's that for? Well, that's for the third that do scroll down, right? The third, do you want to just like walk away from the third that scroll down and just show them like garbage? No, you got to keep entertaining them, right? So, we do make emails that are shoppable landing pages, but let's acknowledge that most of the action is above the fold. That is where most of the action is. It's above the fold. So, I know I've said it before, but so let's say it again. Why put a hero shot on your browse abandon email when the value to them is the thing they clicked on? They clicked on that product. You've got crazy, heavy data that through the process of product discovery, they really found that product interesting. They interacted with it. They showed intent. Why wouldn't you lead with that? Why would you lead with some random picture of some dude? You know what I mean? Here's a dude with a product from my site, right? I've got, 15 products, or I've got 30 products. Here's a picture of a dude with the hero product from my site. Now, is this the hero product? Is that what they clicked on? Maybe not. Is that the product that's below this hero shot? Maybe not, right? So someone's going to open it up, say, there's the other thing that I'm not interested in that other thing. And they click back and you just wasted it. You just wasted it. So if you're a fashion brand and you have amazing on-model shots, and your imagery is fantastic, sure, okay, lead with a hero. But if you are not like some kind of fashion or design brand with the best imagery out there, lead with the product. It's what they wanted. Okay? So, probably we've skipped the hero shot. And then next you show recently viewed product. It's a feature inside of Klaviyo. And many systems just show the recently viewed product. It's the most recent event in the viewed product event. That's the most recent product in the viewed product event. Now, if you have a multi-stage abandon flow, a browse abandon flow, and especially if it's a longer flow, like if you get sneaky and you start making it like a continuation, you can go back and watch the episode on continuation. Forget which one it was. 26. I forget. But you can go watch the episode on continuation to understand what I'm talking about. If you start getting this longer flow, you can always put in some logic on future emails and say, has clicked on 3 products or has viewed product 3 times. And if someone has viewed product 3 times, you can show them recent 3 products. You can have an email that's like products you've recently viewed. And this is getting closer to Amazon-inspired product discovery. Okay, they didn't convert on their first pass through. That round of intent is expired. We need to draw them back in to the catalog. Oh, here's products you've viewed. And that's going to let them self-select which part of your catalog they want to re-enter into. So, point being, don't walk away from the idea of recently viewed products. On a future subsequent message, when someone has just shown intent, you want to just show them the product they clicked on. Don't confuse them, right? get them back where they were. If you show them multiple products, you're going to get them thinking, you get the paradox of choice. They're going to be thinking, well, which part of the catalog do I want to enter? And actually, that just measurably kills conversion. It's known. It's known. So, but after that round of intent has expired, which realistically is like a week, you can start kicking in recently viewed products and show 3 products right there. You have a rule, has viewed 3 products? Oh, they have viewed 3 products? Okay, yes. Then show them 3 products and they can click. Okay. After the recently viewed product or products, you've got some options. So one is just keep the shopping going. Okay. And this is valuable for very large catalogs. So you have the recently viewed product, and directly below that, you have dynamic merchandising. And the dynamic merchandising that we will discuss is recommendations, trending, recently added, best sellers, and perfect together. Perfect together is 2 different recommendations restricted to 2 different categories, like necklace and earring, with 1 recommendation each. So you get a recommended earring and a recommended necklace, and they'll think it looks perfect together because they're recommended, right? Look, not every curation is going to be perfect, but what we're looking at doing, what are we doing here? We're automating our work. We don't want to email every single person who's been on the site manually. Hey, you were on the site, right? We're finding ways to automatically bring people back in through product discovery. So recommended together, super cool. So those are the 5 kinds of dynamic merchandising that we're discussing here. Okay, which dynamic merchandising belongs in Browse Abandon? Recommended and trending. We keep best sellers and new to site for site abandon. Why? Well, they didn't click on a product, so we can't necessarily make a good recommendation. They didn't get into the catalog, right? And since we don't know that about them, we can just show best sellers. Like, we don't know if they've ever been in the catalog. They might have never been in the catalog. Show best sellers. Best sellers always work. Someone's been down. They've been through the products. They've seen your catalog. You don't need to leave with best sellers. You can leave with recommendations. Also, for site abandon, you would do new to site. They didn't get in the catalog. You don't know how long it was since they saw the catalog, so that's where you show them something new. And trending is like the best-selling products in the last 3 days. That is social proof. So when someone's actually been in a product, they were considering that product, they were looking at that product, we want to now show them what people like you are shopping right now. And you might have gotten these kinds of emails from different tech giants before. It's like, yeah, what things, what people like, what people just like you are shopping right now. You got to wordsmith it. Sorry. That's trending. So we will show recommendations and trending in Browse Abandon. And also, if you're going to do a third message, perfect together, right? Which I just broke down. That's the kind of dynamic content, the dynamic products that we show at this layer of the purchase funnel. We can restrict these in our data feeds by category, by catalog. And I mean, if you're breaking things up by 2 different catalogs and default, like we discussed above, you're going to want to make specific data feeds for these different funnels, because you don't want to show recommendations for products that aren't in that feature set. If you've got the skateboard and the rollerblades, you want to have the skateboard email that's all about the skateboard show recommended skateboards, not recommended rollerblades, right? So go in and restrict those. Okay, so like we said, we can go from the recently viewed right into the dynamic merchandising, and it's like a shopping extravaganza. And then after that, we can go to some content. But let's just keep in mind, we actually could have put this content above the dynamic merchandising. What works best? You got to test, right? So, you can just try both. It's such an easy test, just swapping this around. An important point. If you're going to show more products below the fold, have a little bit of the next product appear. So someone sees, oh, there's more products. It'll get them it'll get them thumbing down a bit so they can see the other products. It just triggers the scroll. All right, so whether or not you lead with, you follow with the dynamic merchandising or you follow with the content, here's some content you could put in there. And now we've reached more art than science. There are so many things you can do in here. Let's just talk about it again. Overcome main objections. What are the number one objections for that product line? Okay, let's just explain them away. Manufacturing, materials, ingredients, right? Talk about what's inside the product and how it's made. Do some brand marketing. Just talk about your brand. Take this second to they've gone through all this stuff. Take a second to remind them exactly why your brand is special. And if your brand is special, if that's the killer versus the manufacturing quality, you're going to know and just call out those things. This is your chance to bring them into your world. Some things like customers served, always great. This was on a recent kind of episode I did. It's like, how many customers have you served? How many star ratings? Oh, 10,000 5-star ratings. What's your mission? So do some marketing, right? This is where you do the marketing. And let's just keep in mind, this is like a free brand impression, right? So let's make the most of this free brand impression, not just say, caught you looking, right? And then finally, I like to end off with some social proof, so testimonials. Although I'll acknowledge, look, if your testimonials are amazing, or if you really need testimonials because you've got a complicated or just a tricky product, maybe you actually bring the testimonials right below the recently viewed product. So of course, play with this order, right? But finish off with some testimonials. Okay. After your browse abandoned emails are done, and we just discussed, 3, right? You've got the product you viewed, and then the products you viewed, followed by recommendations, trending, and perfect together. So look, this format just totally supports 3 emails, and we discussed 3 different funnels, category 1, category 2, default. So that's technically 9 messages, although what are you going to do? You're going to use the same 3, but you're going to swap out the kind of middle bit where we talk about, the manufacturing materials and ingredients. Let's make sure we're talking about the right product. So the content will switch, but the skeleton for this message is going to be the same. The kind of the layout, and the core technical aspects are going to be the same. You're going to switch the data feed so you've got the right category. After those messages are done, we finish off with a funnel flusher. Funnel flusher can go after 7 days or after, say, 30, right? Or 28 or whatever. Why 7 or 30? What are we thinking about here? Okay, there's 2 things. One, intent is dead in 7 days. So this is your last chance to get anything out of that intent session. And what would you do? You would give either your welcome coupon again, which is 10%, or, maybe your welcome coupon with a bit of a kicker, 15%. That's what you're going to do at 7 days. And it's a way to make sure that you capitalize on this intent session without being too aggressive with the discount, right? Because you don't want people to just understand, deals are coming, right? All I got to do is just wait a week and I'm going to get my deal. So 10 or 15%. And then it can go at 30 days. And the funnel flusher at 30 days, I'll explain what the funnel flusher is in a second. Let's just start with the time frame. A funnel flusher at 30 days is like 20 to 30% off, 25, 30%, something like that. So what are we thinking about 30? They definitely did not purchase in that session. So what are you doing? You're giving them time. Of course, some trailing purchases come through, right? Of course they do. So you're saying, wait, we are going to make sure they didn't purchase off this intent. And you can also put in some rules that they haven't visited in the last 14 days or something like that, right? And so it's they're gone. Okay. All right. Well, now when you put in that kind of 20 to 30%, it's actually becoming a reactivation email. You know what I mean? It's a reactivation email built into your browse abandon. Yeah. And it's like saying, look, they came in, they didn't buy anything. Let's just clear it out, make any money we can on it, and start fresh with a new set of addresses. And so that 30% off That's more for like an acquisition-based system. Pretty big discount, so you wouldn't want people getting to understand that as regular shoppers. But like if you're putting a lot of effort into new addresses and new acquisition, and you really don't want to lose on any of those addresses, that's where you might use that 30-day, 30%. They haven't been on the site in 2 weeks, whatever, right? They're gone. Okay, let's just capitalize next set of addresses. Where you do the 10 or 15 in a week is like they are regular shoppers and they liked this and they just didn't buy this one. Okay, fine, let's just give them the welcome coupon again. All right, it's just the welcome coupon again. We were going to give it the first time, let's give it the second time, right? And it's shorter afterwards. So the funnel flusher, right? What is this? This is a coupon email, and it's got a much simpler layout than what we just discussed. And by the way, this funnel flusher, it should go after site abandon, it should go after browse, it should go after cart, it should go after checkout, after category, whichever one of these they entered. If they make it all the way to the end, and how would they not make it all the way to the end? Because of course, you've got rules set up so that if someone's in browse abandon and they put something in their cart, they get kicked out of browse abandon and added to cart. And there's honestly, to do this properly, so people can only go down, they can't go up, they can't be in more than one at once, they get kicked out of the last one and added to the new one. Honestly, it's dozens of rules across all these flows, dozens of individual rules. I'm not going to go over it in the pod. It's just, I'd rather poke myself in the eye with a Q-tip. But you need to have those rules, okay? So it goes at the end of all of those. So someone receives it if they did not progress, right? And it is a hero. It's offer over hero. Because you know what the offer, it's got a set offer. So you give that offer over a hero shot. We don't know if this is in browse abandon or site abandon. We're not, so this is going to be very general. A really nice hero shot, offer over hero. Below that, best sellers, because whatever they entered on didn't work. So just show them best sellers, right? And then you drive them to the cart, the checkout, or the category page, depending on which flow you're putting it in. So in this case, for you to use this rule, you'd need to put the same email at the end of multiple flows. Another option is to have one funnel flusher flow that runs after a certain number of days if someone hasn't been on the site, right? And then you just drive them to the shop all page. The interesting thing about that is it doesn't put them in where they left, like when you put it in all the individual ones, but it does give you one funnel flusher flow. And so you can then test and optimize. You could have a little funnel flusher, you'd have a reminder that goes, and you can optimize those as one thing. And, I've never tested or studied which one is better to do. If you're going to do a 30-day, you should do it as its own separate flow because you want to have safeties. When you go back to those dozens of rules that I discussed, you want to have safeties that someone can't be in this flow if it's been so many days. And if someone progresses down, you don't want them to progress back up. Bottom line, when you really get down to the brass tacks, if that thing's going after 30 days, you can't have it embedded in one of those flows, or they could be in another flow further down the funnel and still be in that one and get that one because your safety has to accommodate a 30-day email. You know what? Just trust me on that. You don't need to spend like 2 hours screwing around on rules to discover what I've already discovered. If you want a 30-day, it's got to be its own flow. If you want to insert someone to exactly where they were in the funnel, you got to do 4 different funnel flushers and 4 different flows after 7 days, and you got to change the event behind the dynamic content that drives you to the cart or the CTA. I'll leave you all to figure that out. Ultimately, if you want the simplest, just show them the hero with the offer, show them best sellers, and have a button that drives them to the category page. Can't lose, right? Can't lose, no matter what. Can't lose. The only browse abandon you'll ever need. If you guys take what I just said and take your subpar browse abandon, if you have a subpar browse abandon, if you've listened 40 minutes into this, you might have a subpar browse abandon. This is what I see a lot of, by the way. Someone's got one browse abandon email. Wow. One email, right? Please draw me back into your world. Or it's like An email sends after 4 hours. 4 hours. After 4 hours, they do not care about you. They're busy caring about the other thing that got their attention, right? We're surrounded all day by things that are just grabbing our attention. 4 hours, toast. You have missed the opportunity, right? I would have told you, I see a lot of caught you looking, right? You open up the email and the email is just the dynamic product. It's just the product and often a price. Quick one, don't put your prices in there. Why? Because eventually something's going to happen where it's like, oh, these prices it was the wrong prices in the wrong column in Shopify. Or, not all of your customers are in the United States. Some are in Australia. They've got different kinds of dollars. They're all dollars, but they're different kinds of dollars. So don't put the prices in the email. Leave the prices in the site. Let the site logic take care of that, right? So I see a lot of that. It's like, oh, it's just the dynamic product, nothing else, and maybe a price, which is possibly wrong, right? And then all the marketing we discussed, the dynamic marketing, the product marketing, the brand marketing, right? Further down the email, putting in these amazing vistas, the best shots you've got, right? The best shots, right? The kind of on the beach with the dog. Bring them into your world. And what you might see is the beach with the dog at the top. It's a hero shot, no product. Of course, we're hiding the product below the fold, right? No, bring all that stuff down and really ham it up. Really bring them into your world. Because you can build this email once and it's going to keep sending for years. So build it once, build it right. 2/3 of the people are going to stay up above the fold. They're only going to see what's above the fold, so make the fold hammer. But if they're curious, if they are shopping, let them scroll down and show them an amazing shoppable landing page. That's what we just made here. We just made a shoppable landing page. It's like we can assume that they are product aware now. I mean, when we're like kind of doing these landing pages further up the funnel, it's like, are they problem aware? Are they solution aware? Right? And you kind of breaking that up by these lines. We know that they're product and solution aware. So we can hammer right down. Here are the benefits, right? Pain point, resolution. We can just hammer that stuff. And what better place to do it, right? Because you've got a whole page. Okay, there we go. We've got more great episodes coming. There's so much going on. And we talked last week about, recent changes where we're doing more on the kind of CRO front. We've got some pretty interesting episodes coming up on scarcity and abundance, right? The economics of scarcity, the economics of abundance. We're going to drop that. Yeah, just amazing stuff. So please stay tuned in. If you've not yet subscribed, please subscribe. And if you've got any questions about any of this, of course, feel free to come to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, and ask to speak to me directly. Have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.